companies really believe that they can sell people half-baked products and gamers will just shut up and consume product when that isn't the case. We are becoming increasingly more vocal when it comes to what we like or dislike in our entertainment. And when you release something that is buggy and broken, it's going to be boycotted or at least face major backlash. And that is exactly what is happening right now with Warhammer 40k Space Marine, because the Mastercrafted edition has a mostly negative Steam user review rating after players have labeled it a shameless, blatant cash grab. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, when I see things like this happening, I genuinely get sad because I want most games to come out and for them to be amazing. I want them to be awesome experiences that people are willing to put a lot of time and effort into, and they have a level of enjoyment from their purchase. Unfortunately, that doesn't always happen, especially when companies feel like they can release a half-baked product, and that is what we are seeing going on with the Mastercrafted edition of Space Marine, which was a pretty highly anticipated launch. I know that I had heard a lot about it leading up to release. I knew a lot of people that were excited for it who now are just saying that they are not going to monetarily support it. And that sucks, to be so excited for something and then at the last minute, right before you complete your purchase, you find out that it's shit. So it says Warhammer 40k video games have been on a great run lately, with the likes of Space Marine 2 leading the charge of well-received, successful titles. That game was so good, and it deserves so much hype. And I do definitely recommend giving it a shot if you haven't already, but you might want to stay away from this Space Marine Mastercrafted edition because it is a re-release of Relic Entertainment's 2011 action game, but it's not of good quality because both Games Workshop and publisher Sega are not calling this a remaster. Instead, they point to quality of life and graphical improvements that take the Warhammer 40k Space Marine experience to the next level. And I guess what they meant by the next level was the next level of disappointment, because it's certainly not quality. It was supposed to include higher fidelity and improved textures, 4K resolution, improved character models, a modernized control scheme, an interface overhaul, remastered audio, a lot of really good sounding things. Now, I'm someone who is very critical of remakes and remasters and reboots because unfortunately, a lot of the time, yeah, they do just boil down to being cash grabs. You could get the original version of a game or emulate it and then download a lot of mods for it. And there are people that will put out improvements. And I feel like we have gotten so many remasters over the past couple of years because companies are fucking lazy. They would rather reboot and remake and re-release content with like slight improvements instead of hire people to actually make continuations. And that is unfortunate. Some of them do turn out really good, but a lot of them are just cash grabs, and it seems that this is one of them because Warhammer 40k Space Marine Mastercrafted Edition launched on June 10th, and, well, unfortunately, it is getting raked across the coals. Now, I do think that it is good that it is on Game Pass. I personally would have purchased this if it was in a better state instead, but even though it only has a $40 price tag, it is getting destroyed. It says that it currently has a mostly negative user review rating on Valve's platform, and complaints revolve around the high price of the game relative to the changes it makes over the Anniversary Edition, and on those changes, bemusement in response to what many believe is worse usability. This, coupled with struggles to find others to play with online, has caused some to call Space Marine the Mastercrafted Edition a cash grab. I was very excited for the idea of this being updated, but honestly, I prefer the older version, reads one negative Steam user review. It feels better and looks better. Why couldn't this just have been an update or something? And for the price tag, it just feels very meh. And this is one of my all-time favorite games too. Just gonna install the older version and play through that, which I do definitely think is a good alternative. If you have that Space Marine itch and you want to play it and you don't have something like Game Pass, or you don't want to waste $40, just get the other version. Just play the other version because it's a higher level of quality. Now, heading on over to Steam, as you can see, it is sitting at mostly negative. There's actually a lot of people who ended up refunding it too. Not worth the money. Not only was this a cheap cash grab, but they also had the audacity to ruin the aesthetic of the orcs and ruin the UI with this new cheap looking modern one. Also, no free upgrade for owners of the Anniversary Edition. Yeah, well, companies don't do that because they need to make as much money as possible. They are greedy. And I don't necessarily blame companies for wanting to make money because that's what they should be focused on. But when you've already remastered something, don't remaster it again. Don't reboot it again. Don't try to re-release it again. Like, at least give the people who previously supported you some sort of credit. It says, though, and the price is ridiculous. Here in Australia, it cost almost $63 for a effing remaster. Yeah, unfortunately, it is very expensive in places like Australia. Luckily, it's cheaper in the US because it's only $40, but still. TLDR, hard pass. Even if it went on sale until major optimization is done, you should not buy it. Game was refunded. The issue arises in how the game performs. For some reason, this game runs extremely poorly. It jumps frame rate so much that it becomes extremely choppy to the point that it hurts the eyes and can make one sick. Another negative is the multiplayer and co-op horde mode is dead on arrival. I waited 20 minutes for a single game. Yeah, this game is not doing crazy numbers right now on Steam, and yes, again, it is on Game Pass, so I'm sure that there are going to be people playing it that way. But if the level of quality is bad all around, there are going to be a lot of people who will just download it and then not play it at release, and then in a couple of months give it a shot, and by then the matches will probably also be extremely difficult to find. So it's a lose-lose situation, and this is such a major problem right now where companies release half-baked products, and I hate to see this because if you expect people to swipe their credit cards and monetarily support you, you should at least be giving them a experience that fucking works. I get that sometimes you're going to end up buying a game that you don't like, you're going to download a game that's just really not that fun to you, but it at least could have a high level of quality. And if you're going to constantly try to milk people for all they're worth, you should be giving us something that at least fucking works. And that is not the case here. Sucks to say, because Space Marine is really good, love Warhammer 40k, but it's hard to sit here and support something like this that is being called extremely overpriced and doesn't even work on the Steam Deck. People can't even launch it in some cases, which is just sad to hear. And even taking a quick peek on Steam, this did not pick up at all whatsoever. It had an all-time peak 5 days ago at only 128. I think that they marketed this very poorly, and I think a big reason why they didn't market it is because they knew it was going to launch and face backlash, because how do you work on a game for years and not know that it's buggy and broken? It reminds me of Mind's Eye, which came out not even that long ago. It came out and it is a disaster, technically. How do you not know that that is going to happen? I think that they do, and I think that they still just barrel forward with their plans because they need to meet deadlines, and they don't really think about how their customers are going to feel. So yeah, I mean, this is just not a good situation all around. If you were really excited for this, like I was, I would suggest waiting. I'm personally not going to pick it up anytime soon. They would have to put a lot of work and effort into it to earn my purchase, and I think a lot of people probably feel the same, but it is a disaster, and unfortunately, if, yeah, you were looking forward to this, it's not a high-quality experience, and players are labeling it a shameless, blatant cash grab. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, give it a like, and if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I'll talk to you all again in the next video really soon.